What kind of woman storms into a martial arts gym and demands to fight a black belt? HOA Karen did exactly that. Her heavy footsteps shaking the polished wooden floor of Rising Dragon Dojo. A small, sweat-soaked haven in the heart of the city. Her voice, sharp as a whip, cut through the rhythmic thuds of punches and kicks. "I'm here to show you all how it's done," she bellowed, her round face flushed with defiance, her eyes blazing with a fire that seemed to dare the world to step in her way. The gym, a sanctuary for disciplined fighters, froze. Students paused mid-kick, their GIs damp with effort, and stared at this brash, heavy-set woman who looked like she'd never thrown a punch in her life. HOA didn't care. She stood there, hands on her hips, her loud floral shirt a stark contrast to the muted grays and blacks of the dojo. She wasn't here to blend in. She was here to dominate. The black belt, a wiry man named Marcus, turned slowly from the heavy bag he'd been pummeling. His calm, almost serene expression didn't falter, but his dark eyes assessed her with the precision of someone who'd spent years mastering control. "Ma'am," he said, his voice low but firm, "this is a training space. If you want to learn, we have beginner classes." His words were polite, but HOA took them as a challenge. "Learn?" She scoffed, her voice dripping with disdain. "I don't need your classes. I've been through more fights in my life than you've had hot dinners. Step up or step out." The room held its breath. Marcus's students exchanged glances, unsure whether to laugh or intervene. The air crackled with the audacity of her challenge, a spark that threatened to ignite something no one could predict. HOA's life had always been a battlefield. Growing up in a rough neighborhood, she'd learned to wield her words like weapons, her loud voice a shield against anyone who dared cross her. She'd faced down bullies, landlords, and even her own family's doubts, always coming out on top through sheer force of will. But this wasn't a street corner or a family argument. This was a dojo, a place where skill trumped bravado, and Marcus was no ordinary opponent. He'd earned his black belt through years of grueling training, his body a testament to discipline, his mind a fortress of focus. HOA didn't know his story, but she didn't care. To her, he was just another obstacle, another doubter to prove wrong. As Marcus stepped forward, the gym's energy shifted. The students formed a loose circle, their curiosity outweighing their skepticism. HOA's confidence didn't waver, but there was something in Marcus's silence that unnerved her, a quiet strength that made her heart pound just a little faster. "You think you're tough?" she taunted, pointing a finger at him. "I've dealt with tougher. Let's see what you've got." Marcus didn't respond with words. He simply nodded to the instructor, a grizzled woman named Coach Lena, who watched from the sidelines with arms crossed. Lena's eyes narrowed, but she gave a curt nod, signaling the match could proceed. The rules were simple, a sparring session. No contact, just technique. HOA smirked, already imagining her victory. The sparring began, and HOA charged like a bull, her arms swinging wildly, her breath loud and uneven. Marcus moved like water, fluid and untouchable, dodging her every attempt with effortless grace. The students murmured, impressed by his restraint, but HOA's frustration grew with each missed strike. "Stand still and fight," she shouted, her voice echoing off the walls. Marcus didn't flinch. Instead, he pivoted, his footwork a dance she couldn't follow. And in a single, smooth motion, he redirected her momentum, sending her stumbling forward. The gym gasped, but HOA caught herself, her face red with fury. "You think that's enough to stop me?" she roared, charging again. Then came the twist no one saw coming. As HOA lunged, her foot caught on the edge of a mat, and she stumbled, her arms flailing. But instead of falling, she grabbed Marcus's GI, pulling him down with her. They hit the mat together, a tangle of limbs and surprise. And for a moment, the gym was silent. Then HOA laughed aloud, guttural sound that filled the room. "Got you," she crowed, scrambling to her feet. Marcus, still calm, rose with a faint smile, brushing off his GI. The students didn't know what to make of it. Was this a victory? A fluke? Coach Lena's expression was unreadable, but her eyes flicked to HOA with something new: curiosity, maybe even respect. The moment shifted something in HOA. She'd come to prove a point. But the fall, the laugh, the unexpected connection with Marcus on the mat, it stirred something deeper. She'd spent her life fighting to be seen, to be heard. But here, in this moment, she felt exposed. Not weak, but human. Marcus extended a hand, not to help her up. She was already standing, but as a gesture of acknowledgement. "You've got spirit," he said quietly. "But spirit needs direction." HOA's instinct was to snap back, to reclaim her bravado. But something in his voice stopped her. For the first time, she wondered if she'd misjudged the fight she'd walked into. The sparring resumed, but the energy had changed. HOA's swings were less wild. Her eyes locked on Marcus, trying to read him. He didn't taunt or provoke. He simply moved, his every step a lesson in control. The students watched, no longer whispering, their attention fixed on the unlikely duel. HOA's breaths came heavy, her floral shirt clinging to her skin. But she didn't stop. She couldn't. Too many years of fighting alone, of shouting to be heard, drove her forward. But Marcus wasn't her enemy, was her mirror, reflecting a truth she hadn't faced. Her anger, her need to dominate, wasn't strength. It was survival. And survival wasn't enough anymore. The confrontation reached its peak when HOA, exhausted but unyielding, threw a clumsy punch that Marcus caught midair, his hand closing gently around her fist. The gym fell silent. Her eyes widened, not with fear, but with realization. She'd expected him to strike back, to humiliate her. But instead, he held her gaze, his grip firm but not cruel. "You're fighting yourself," he said, his voice steady. "Not me." The words hit harder than any punch. HOA yanked her hand back, her chest heaving, her mind racing. The students waited, breathless, for her response. Coach Lena stepped forward, her voice cutting through the tension. "Enough," she said. "HOA, you've got fire. But fire burns out if you don't know how to use it." The truth stung. HOA had walked into the dojo to prove she was untouchable. But now she stood exposed, her bravado crumbling under the weight of Marcus's calm and Lena's blunt honesty. She wanted to scream, to storm out, to reclaim her armor of defiance. But something held her there, the faces of the students. Not mocking but watching. The quiet strength of Marcus. The unexpected respect in Lena's eyes. She'd come to fight a black belt, but the real battle was within her. And she was losing. The collapse came quietly, not with a shout, but with a single, shuddering breath. HOA sank onto a bench, her hands trembling, her eyes fixed on the floor. The gym, once a stage for her bravado, now felt like a mirror, reflecting every doubt she'd buried. She'd spent her life fighting to prove she was enough for the world. For her family. For herself. But here, in this place of discipline and respect, she saw the cost of her anger. It had kept her alive, but it had also kept her alone. Marcus sat beside her. Not too close. His presence steady but not overbearing. "You don't have to fight everyone," he said. "Sometimes, the hardest fight is letting go." Hoa didn't respond, but his words lingered, seeping into the cracks of her defenses. The students began to disperse, their training resuming. But Lena stayed, watching Hoa with a mix of sternness and empathy. "You've got potential," Lena said. "But potential means nothing if you don't show up for it." Hoa looked up, her eyes wet but fierce. For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. Instead, she nodded, a small gesture that felt like a surrender not to them, but to the truth. Days turned into weeks, and Hoa returned to the dojo. Not to fight, but to learn. She was still loud, still fierce, but now her energy had purpose. She trained under Lena's sharp eye, her clumsy punches slowly gaining precision, her shouts replaced by focused breaths. Marcus became her sparring partner, not her enemy, his patience a quiet challenge to her old ways. The students, once skeptical, began to cheer her on, their encouragement a new kind of strength. Hoa's transformation wasn't perfect. She still snapped when frustrated, still carried the weight of her past, but she was moving forward. One evening, after a grueling session, Hoa stood in the center of the mat, her gi tied awkwardly, her face flushed with effort. The gym was quiet, the students gone, only Marcus and Lena watching from the sidelines. "I came here to prove something," Hoa said, her voice softer than it had ever been. "But I found something instead." She looked at Marcus, then Lena, her eyes steady. "I found a place where I don't have to fight to be seen." Lena's stern face softened, and Marcus gave a small nod, his smile warm. The dojo, once a battlefield, had become her home. Hoa's journey wasn't just about learning kicks or punches. It was about discovering that strength wasn't in shouting louder or fighting harder, but in showing up, in listening, in growing. She'd silenced the gym that first day with her audacity, but now she silenced it with her resilience, her willingness to change. As she bowed to Marcus, her heart full, she knew the real victory wasn't in winning a fight, it was in finding a way to keep fighting for herself.